Thank you very much. I wish I'd followed Stephen Smith, because I am much funnier than him and thinner. But still, never mind. And it's nice to have three thin people on this sofa. I don't know if you're here. When Rob Jupp, Stephen Smith and Nigel Stockton sat there, it was a disaster waiting to happen. But anyway, over the next few minutes, we're going to have three new banks, three new entities with new ideas, talk about how they gauge, measure, react to customer behaviour and changing customer behaviour. So I shall be asking each of them questions individually, and we hope that their answers give you some kind of insight. So, Julian, how important is customer research in building your customer experience? And what does that research tell you about consumer behaviour and expectations changing?
So research is critical to everything that we do. I think the first thing it tells us is that actually Tesco customers prefer to talk to an individual when they're taking out a mortgage, and for that reason we've gone into the intermediary channel. But we've also researched what it is that intermediaries want from us, and the things that we're being told are quality, quality of service, but also speed. So what we've done in building our solution and putting our team and our operations in place is aimed to deliver that. So in this day and age, things like scan and upload, web chat are all important things that we've delivered. But not only do we use research in terms of the traditional way of asking people what they want, but we also look at trends and what we're seeing in other parts of our business. So one thing that didn't come up massively strongly in terms of research was the need for mobile optimization. Nonetheless, we built that because we see that as something that's increasingly a trend that people are using that in other parts of the business. And then once we build things, we do more research and we actually get a bunch of brokers in a room and say, try this system. And we've got, the agency's got cameras and they're tracking the eye movements. And it might not seem a lot, but what that enables us to do is to see where someone's looking and put things in the right place, which of course speeds up and helps to find the right information.
Cool. Are you doing anything?
We are. I think one of the things that we've learned, so we're now 6 years old as a bank, is it's really important if you're going to measure customer experience to be honest with yourself. So, for example, we do a lot of mystery shopping with our stores, with our branches. And one of the things we found after about a year of running the programme is that on mystery shopping day, branch number 1 would spot the mystery shopper and would phone branch number 2 and say, oh, by the way, we've got a customer who's about to come in. They're about to ask for this, they're about to ask for that, and we're about to ask for this. Now, what that meant was that the graphs looked brilliant. We were delivering the best customer experience in the world every single time. And of course, that wasn't true. Now, I've worked in lots of other organisations as well, where you end up measuring your own customer experience and you never continually raise the bar. And as a result of that, I'm sure all of you guys will have heard, we deliver the best experience in the world. And yet when you individually interact with that company in whatever field they're in, of course, that customer experience is rubbish. So for us, making sure that the customer data is real, it's honest, not just telling you what you think you want to hear or that you think you want to tell your boss, is absolutely crucial.
Brilliant. Lisa, do you have a defined customer experience? And how do you manage consistent delivery of the experience across your business? Because you've just started, so...
Yeah, we are. So we're brand new. Everything is being built from scratch, and it's customer experience has been at the absolute heart of what we are about and what we're delivering. So it's easy for us because we've not got lots of different channels. We are mobile, digital. We're app-based with a contact centre, backup and social channels. So fairly tight in terms of the channel management. But what we have done is we've introduced what we call standards into the process. So as part of what's our purpose, how we're going to deliver that purpose, and what are those standards. So we have intuitive, which is all about being quick, easy, simple. We have transparent, which is about giving people, the customers, the information that they need to know. Personal, tailored experience, so don't assume that all your customers want the same thing. Cleverly designed, which is similar but using tech. Low cost, because that is at the very heart of our model, so things have to be straight through. And then social, because we want a community feel to our brand. And what we've done is applied those consistently across all the touch points of the business. We've defined those down to what that means for our products, our pricing, for our customer service, for our touch points with our intermediaries. And then we've got a head of customer experience that works with the business to roll that out. So it's fairly structured, but you know, we've had a clean sheet and that's been amazing.
You've got a sort of brand that's sort of recognisable. Has that been a problem, developing the mortgage side of things, or a help?
It's been a help, and the fact of the matter is that we do research for Tesco Bank, and customers do trust the brand. It's something that the new Chief Exec, Dave Lewis, is absolutely majoring on, and one of our values is that no one tries harder for customers, and we're seeing that. The Tesco's results were out this morning, like-for-like sales up for the second quarter in a row, so I think things are turning around and looking very positive, and that whole design concept of keeping things to be as easy as possible filters through everything that we're trying to do.
And Richard, you're probably the first bank that was actually built around brand. So how do customers actually respond to the brand, and what does it stand for, and how do you deliver what it stands for?
Yeah, for us, brand is more important than it's ever been. Brand for me is about setting expectations for customers. In fact, the presentation we just saw on AO.com is a really good example of that. You decide what you want to be, and then you make sure the way in which you deliver your brand to the market supports that. Let me try and kind of give a couple of examples. If I was up here now on stage telling you that Apple were just about to launch a car, and you imagine what sort of car it would be, probably wouldn't be powered by pedals, right? It would be the latest technology, whatever it might be. Okay, but what about a car that Andrex were just about to launch? What would that look like? Probably quite different. What about a car that the mortgage industry were just about to produce? What would that look like? Now, the only thing that you can base those mental images on is your experience of a brand. And actually, as you start using more and more and more technology, your experience and expectation around brand is everything. So within Metro, we started from a very simple premise. We want to create fans, not customers. That sounds quite an American thing to say, actually. It is an American thing to say, creating fans. But what we're talking about is people who will recommend us to other people. And if you start with that as an ethos, and then you build your business around it, you've got consistency of brand. And that, for me, then, is, if we're talking to you guys, I want you to experience the best service possible. It's up to me that I've set an expectation with you all that when you talk to Metro, you're going to get the best possible experience. It's then for us as an organisation to live up to that promise. And if we don't live up to that promise, then frankly, our brand doesn't mean anything.
So you've half answered the next question as well, which is very intuitive of you. How would you describe the culture in your business? And does it have to be reflective of your brand? I think you've sort of touched.
I have, and I think this is really important. So in financial services, ultimately what we do is we sell money. But my £5 note's basically exactly the same as yours. So therefore, we're in a commodity organisation, which means that people are everything. The way in which people interact with technology, the way in which they interact with you, the way in which we have a conversation with you is everything. And what we've learned a lot about is that every single time that any employee of Metro Bank has a conversation with someone else about Metro Bank, they leave an impression. So after this talk, all of you are going to have a view about Metro Bank based on a conversation that I'm talking to you. We haven't actually met. Many of us haven't met. You might not know anything about me, but some of you haven't come across Metro Bank before are going to have an opinion. Hopefully it's a better opinion, but it might not be. Nonetheless, I've left an imprint. So when you're having a conversation with your customers, every single conversation you have in a business context is building or taking away from your brand. Really quick example. I've never met David Beckham. I've also never met Katie Price. But is Katie Price a brilliant entrepreneur, or is she just a bit dozy? I don't know, but I bet you all of you will have an opinion about Katie Price. I've no idea how many of you have met her before. If you ever found someone who had met Katie Price, quite often, if they've got a very strong opinion, it might be based on the fact they bumped into her to ask her for an autograph, and she either was really great and happy about it, or she told them where to go. So basically, you create a legend in people's minds about you as an individual, and then about your brand and about your organisation. And for me, that's why culture it's got to be your brand, because ultimately we haven't got anything else.
So can I just add a research point to that as well? So a very, very large survey by GfK last year, 63% of consumers said that they will only buy from brands that they believe share their own values and beliefs. So you really, really need to think about the fact that people buy emotionally. We think that they buy rationally, and a lot of the time they don't. When it comes to a mortgage, you know, they will look at the facts and figures because it's one of the biggest products that you're going to ever, you know, buy in terms of your financial products. But they will connect with people as well, and you can actually make a difference by the brand itself and then carrying through the expectations of that brand into the service that you're delivering. It is hugely important.
In terms of Katie Price, though, she is an entrepreneur and she's dozy. Julian, we've already heard today about technology developments, robo-advice. What do you believe is the right balance between technology and human involvement when trying to combine efficiency, convenience, ease, and advice, you know, building a reassuring and trusted relationship with the consumer?
Yeah, I think there's lots of evidence that are talking about the future and the ability of robots to give advice or to undertake medical diagnoses and the like. But at this point in time, I think that technology for me is an enabler. Certainly our research shows that more people want to talk to an advisor. We heard earlier that up to 75% of people getting a mortgage are doing that at this point in time. But we also heard that from a research perspective, people want things quicker. So to my mind, the place of technology at the moment is to make things quicker, to help make things more consistent in terms of, you know, can you communicate? We're piloting at the moment a system where the customer can give us permission through an app and we can get a PDF of their bank statements. That speeds it up, makes it easier for customers. So I think it's an enabler. It's all about making it a better experience for customers and indeed for intermediaries.
Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think another small example, personal example. This weekend I'm trying to book 2 hire cars because I'm going to France with some friends. 2 hire cars. So I go to Eurocar, I look for 2 hire cars. I can't actually order 2 cars at the same time. So then you use video chat, and all the video chat person can do is point me to the web page that I've already read that tells me whether I can't actually order 2 cars. So if I just went somewhere else. I just got bored. I just got frustrated with technology. So for me, with robo-advice and everything else, it's going to be about the experience that you guys build around those kind of processes so that when there are issues, people speak to you about it and you can then work together in a multi-channel way so that customers want to come back to you.
The key thing there is technology absolutely plays a role, and it can really add value. But at the end of the day, back to my previous point, it's actually the human connection is still so important, and having that your brand that relates, and you as an advisor relating to your consumer, you actually can't replace that, but you need to combine it and you need to blend it.
And picking up on Richard's point, Lisa, how important is customer feedback and being able to demonstrate consumer satisfaction through recognised service rating agencies, net promoter scores, etc.? Is there evidence that an increasing number of consumers are being influenced by service ratings?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, net promoter score isn't a language that a consumer would understand. But it's an incredibly important thing for us as businesses to understand because it drives advocacy. So in my last role before Atom Bank, you know, the number of new customers that we got walking through the door, 1/3 of them were driven through advocacy. Now that's huge when, you know, you're a fairly big established brand, 1/3 is driven by advocacy. I think you need to think about this from a consumer perspective is in financial services, we know that the role that family and friends has always played, right, is huge. You choose your bank because it, you know, for most people, it was your parents' bank. That's evolved now with technology. We know that the internet is the go-to place for information, right? We were just having a conversation beforehand. You know, you listen to your parents, but you don't quite believe them now. You go and check other things out. So the role in which social channels can play, the positive sentiment that's out there about your brand, review sites, you know, ratings, all these things, the consumer will go on a buying journey and look at all these things before they make a decision to interact with you. It is absolutely critical.
I think it also an important point I feel about social media and advocacy is, and I don't know if you guys agree, but social media also drives anti-advocacy, if there is such a thing. If you do something wrong, the modern customer has got much more opportunity
Huge
to
voice.
harm your business.
Yeah.
If you don't deliver the service that they expect than they ever did before.
Yeah, the expectations are huge from consumers and they'll be very vocal.
And you can't, it's not something that you can avoid. So you may decide that you don't want to go onto Facebook or you don't want to go onto Twitter, but frankly, our customers are. Yeah. And so if you're not, you're never going to find out what it is that they're saying about you, good or bad. And if they're saying something bad about you, you can't put it right.
Richard, in your opinion, how important is the customer experience in terms of being a differentiator and gaining customer loyalty recommendations? Where does it sit in your business in terms of the top 10 areas of focus and development?
I think we've talked about financial services being a commodity. I think it's our only differentiator. I think having people who are passionate about you, your brand, how you want to interact with customers and believing it creates differentiation. Ultimately, products are replicable. If you've got a really good product, someone else can copy it. All they've got to do is change their machinery around in order to do it. You see it in industry. Manufacturing is a good example. Gillette brought out the first two-blade razor. So guess what Wilkinson Sword did? They brought out a two-blade razor. To which Gillette obviously got their heads down and did a load of innovative thinking, and guess what they did? They brought out the three-blade razor. And guess what Wilkinson Sword did about 6 months later? They also brought out the three-blade razor. And that's actually continued, and they continue to copy each other.
We're 18 now.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, 18. Exactly right. But you cannot copy customer experience. I'm sure all of you will have worked in or around teams that one day aren't performing very well. You put a new person in, and all of a sudden that team starts having brilliant interactions with customers, generates a load more business. The feedback on them is absolutely brilliant. That's almost impossible to replicate because that's all about the individual. At Metro, as an example, we talk a lot about hiring for attitude and training for skill. Because we're a service-based organisation, if we hire people who don't care about serving customers well, then frankly our brand doesn't mean anything. So for us, the very first thing that we do, because our brand is about service, is we hire for attitude, and then we will train people in the products and services so that they can provide the right kind of support and advice for customers.
So how important is it for you, taking that point to the next extreme, you're dealing with intermediaries, how important is it for you that you know that the intermediaries you're dealing with aren't going to muck up the Metro brand?
It's massively important, but equally as important for me is the experience that the intermediary you guys have as our customers. Because I want you to have a brilliant experience when you deal with us. Doesn't mean we're going to get it right all the time. Of course it doesn't. What it does mean is if we do get it wrong, we're going to fix it better and faster and quicker than everybody else because we care. We wanted to work with brilliant intermediaries who are passionate about delivering great service as well. In that way, we can build really good relationships with you because you're enhancing our brand and we are hopefully enhancing yours. And we recognise that our customers are your customers. And therefore, you should have an expectation of what we can do on your behalf.
So the experience side of things must be equally important for you guys, Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge for us. So we have put as much effort into the customer experience as we have actually the intermediary customer experience as well. So when we come to market with mortgage toward the back end of this year, you know, we have really thought through every single thing with, you know, having talked to brokers and intermediaries, knowing what they want, and built an experience that actually, you know, gives you what you want as well as gives the customer what they want as well. Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of, it's at the heart of our business.
I think it's true for us, and I think with Tesco Bank there's an added dimension, which is that obviously customers who come to us, we want to be the bank for Tesco customers, have a relationship with the group as well. So it's very important to us to maintain good relationships. As part of the customer experience, we're giving points for people on their mortgage repayment spend. But actually there's another point which is really important, which is that if we decline someone in the bank, they're a customer of the group, so we have to make sure that we do that in a respectful and fair way as we possibly can.
Lisa, this is a bit of a poison chalice question, actually. How do you think lenders and intermediaries compare in terms of their focus and investment on the customer experience, especially around technology? What do you think will happen to those that don't build their business around changing customer behaviour?
Okay, so I've not got a huge amount of personal experience of working with the intermediary market, but what I would say is you're going to have to change and you're going to have to change fast. So my experience is mostly in sort of the big bank world. What I see there is very much organisations that are waking up to the fact that they need to be very customer-centric, and I think the financial crisis did that, if I'm honest. And I think they're waking up. I don't think they're moving that quickly. But I would say that customers will absolutely start to vote with their feet as new, new businesses come to market, alternative models come to market. Consumers will change behaviour. You're seeing that in all the stats that you're seeing this morning. I was at a great fintech startup event, and kind of I'm working in the startup world, and this startup event that I was a judge for over the weekend just opened my eyes to the number of people that are out there trying to bring new ideas, fresh ideas to the market. We ended up judging 10 ideas. 3 out of those 10 ideas were for the mortgage market directly. So the mortgage market is changing. There's loads of great ideas. There's loads of startup businesses out there trying to break the mold in this space. So if you don't waken up, the world will change around you.
But you come from the big bank space, and their focus must also be on development of technology and changing and adapting to their customers' behaviour too.
And they are really committed to that. I've worked for a very big organisation before I worked for Atom, so I know the absolute commitment to digital and changing within those organisations. The issue is they can't change very fast. They have big legacy systems. Their infrastructures just mean that they can't change as fast as they want to. And a high degree of regulation means that a lot of the money is pumped into regulation as opposed to the sexy stuff in terms of changing in the digital space. They're getting there, don't get me wrong, and we know, they're the people that we look at and kind of go, you're our competitors because we want to take your customers, from an Atom brand perspective. But they are slow to change, but they need to get more rapid.
Julian, intermediary advice is dominant in the mortgage market at the moment. So how does the intermediary integrate into your strategy for customer engagement, especially as the rest of the group is such a direct brand? You don't use intermediation anywhere else in Tesco.
I think the key point is that we've done the research. Tesco customers predominantly want to get advice. We don't have a branch network, and I think for the foreseeable future, taking a mortgage, the biggest financial decision.
I think you mean forever.
Say again?
I think you mean forever, not the foreseeable.
I think taking a mortgage is the biggest financial decision you make, and the vast majority of people, probably 90%, still want to get advice, and I think there's a place for technology to facilitate that. I can't quite see how it's going to take over yet.
And actually, I think smaller banks with limited distribution, we need you guys, and we really are excited about the opportunity of working with you. We're never, as Metro Bank, we have 41 stores. We'll have 60 by the end of next year. 7 years ago, our CEO went into Tottenham Court Road and bought a laptop, and today we're the 180th biggest company in the UK. We can't sustain that level of growth through having 41 stores and 60 stores in the future. We are 100% committed to working with you and your other intermediary colleagues in delivering great experience so we can continue to grow. And we need you as much as hopefully you need us.
Excellent. And finally, for all three of you, what advice would you give to mortgage intermediaries here today in terms of the customer experience in their business?
Well, I think to me it would be to be proactive and to build a relationship. So don't just make that call at the end of the person's current mortgage. Certainly that's what I'm looking for, and that's what I'd advise.
For me, it's be very, very clear about who you are and what you want to stand for, and then just be relentless about implementing it. Don't walk past anything that doesn't fit. We've within Metro Bank now, Metro's a verb. You can sit in a meeting, and I sit in too many meetings, but I sit in a meeting and people will get called out by saying, that's not very Metro. Now, for that to be so, your culture and what you stand in has to be so strong that means something to people. And for you, as you're growing out your businesses, you need to be clear about that, because otherwise, how can you be sure that you're delivering consistent experience to customers? How can you be sure that your business model is a winning one? And how can you be sure that you're going to be around in a few years' time if customers just are not getting the experience that you want to deliver to them?
For me, I would say embrace the change that is coming, embrace technology, but yeah, you know, don't give up what you want to stand for. Understand your customers, okay? So take the time, you have fantastic relationships with your customers. Each customer is an individual and will want to do things differently. Understand your customers and then use the tech to enhance that relationship and build it into how you can give them a better service. And it can be flexible.
I think what we've seen here is that the three new companies, new entrants with new ideas, different tech, all really want to work with you guys, which is fantastic as the distribution company that has more advisors that have won the British Mortgage Awards than anybody else. I think you should be enormously proud of yourselves, and you shouldn't be scared of change. You should get excited by change, and do speak to your customers, tweet them if you must, you know, send them a text, drop them an email, give them a call, you know, like Gareth Herbert, speak to them on Tinder if you have to, but whatever you need to do, make sure it's not an irregular once every sort of like 3 or 4 years call. And so go out there and be excited about change. And thank you very much, and a round of applause for our panel.